mentioned before, and you saw in the video, in order to set the control property, all you need to do, refer to the object name and set the control properties of it. There are some common properties among most the controls that are available on Access, like visible, enable, lock, caption, left, top, height, and width. These are common controls that most controls have them. These are actually common properties, I apologize. Common properties that most controls have. So basically you could refer to these controls and take advantage of them. Now sometimes happens that you want to refer to a particular control and set many properties of that controls at once. Like in this case, as you see, you want to set the left, top, height, locked, and enabled properties of a text name. It would be overwhelming to keep repeating the object name, dot property name. So for that, we are saving some time by using the with, object name, and with block. So doing that, all you need to do is specify the period and then the property name. Automatically, the IntelliSense will show you all available properties. So that saves you some time, not to keep repeating the object name. Never ever forget that the period is necessary. You cannot put the period right after the object name. You have to put it before the property name. So keep that in mind. There's a practice in which allows you to work with some properties on some controls. We have already talked about set focus, loss focus, and so forth. Using the set focus method, when you want a particular control to have the focus, you could just call that. Like for example, you could set the focus on a text box. Let's say after validation, if there's something wrong with that particular value, you could set the focus back to wherever the error has occurred and help the user out to see where they have to start over again. Also, requery method. The requery method updates the data underlying a form or a control reflects the records that are pointing to. In this scenario, the combo box categories requery will refresh the entire values of that combo box right off the database. There are other properties available, like visibility on a specific form. You can hide a form rather than closing the form. That makes it even faster of the execution of your program. In other words, you're boosting up the performance a little bit. If you know that the form needs to be keep shown, you don't need to close it, keep closing it and reopen it. You can just hide it instead of showing it, loading it. So you could make it to be visible or hidden by setting that visibility to be true or false. There's another one called caption. You can set the caption property. That places the caption on top of the title bar on that form. Also the picture property. You could actually call the picture property of the form to have a specific logo on it. You can actually create a bitmap and have customizable bitmap to be shown. In regard to the DoCmd object, which is controlling the behavior of objects within Access, you could actually programmatically call a particular action to occur. Like for example, in this scenario, you're calling a form to be opened programmatically. Let's demonstrate that for you for a second. If I switch back here, I like to create a brand new form. And basically on this form, I'm putting a button in here and call this button to be basically CMD open my form. And using this particular button itself, after I choose the caption of it, let's actually on the caption put CMD open form, and on the all, I can actually go and set the name for it to be CMD my open form. If I double click on it, on the form itself, or simply go on the unclick event of it and set the event procedure, I can actually call the DoCmd command object, put the period, and as you see, there are many different commands that I can perform. Basically, consider DoCmd as your right hand. In order to do anything with the mouse, you could do it programmatically. In this scenario, I want to open a form. What is the form name? I can refer to the form name that I've already saved. If you recall, one of the forms that I've saved was my form. So I'm calling my form. And of course, there are many more properties that you can set part of the DoCmd, and they are basically listed on page 79 on module 2 course, basically 1300. If I save this form right now, I call this form, like for example, control. If I close all these available modules in here and go back to my form, as you see, I have a form called control and I have a form called my form. What I like to do, I like to open up my form by clicking on open my form, and that basically opens up the form that I have. So DoCmd basically executes a command that you could have done graphically using the mouse. You could actually open a report. You could close a form. You could insert a menu. You could do anything you do graphically within Access using the DoCmd. So let's switch back in here. Using the DoCmd object, you could perform any action, and there are a variety of different parameters that you can pass. You could open a report like this way, open report, monthly report. You could also associate a particular view to it. Like, do you want to show it within the screen? Would you like to really print the view, the report in there or not? You could also show all records just in case all the records could be shown by using the DoCmd object. There's a video in which summarizes what I've shown you, and basically by going through that, we are done with this particular chapter. There is a lab 2, responding to the user action, which takes you about 30 minutes. And basically what you can do in this, working with the event procedures and working with the DoCmd.